Not too long ago, most people in Seattle thought the big train expansions were just another pipe dream due to being delayed, over budget, and stuck in construction limbo. You'd spot the signs, catch the occasional update, but nothing really seemed to be happening. Well, guess what? Things are finally picking up. And the Seattle train extension? It's arriving sooner than expected. So what's happening, and how much does it matter? In today's episode of Great Trainspeed, we're digging into the details, what's on the way, why timelines are shifting, and what it all means for getting around the Pacific Northwest. Don't miss it. As of 2024, Sound Transit's Link Light Rail has evolved into a well-connected regional system. With 3 active lines, including the 1-line, 2-line, and T-line, it spans roughly 45 miles and serves 43 stations across the Seattle metropolitan area. It's also moving impressive numbers, around 30.5 million riders per year. A major development in the past year has been the gradual rollout of the 2-line, also known as the East Link Extension. The first segment, stretching from South Bellevue to Redmond Technology Station, officially opened on April 27, 2024. Then, just over a year later, in May 2025, the line extended further east to reach downtown Redmond. This eastern portion of the 2-line saw promising early use, with over 1.2 million riders in 2024 and a peak of around 4,500 weekday boardings. However, by early 2025, average weekday ridership dipped slightly to around 3,240 boardings, a shift that reflects the typical post-launch adjustment period seen in many new rail corridors. But what's missing? The critical western segment is the part that crosses Lake Washington via the I-90 floating bridge, connecting Mercer Island to Judkins Park Station in Seattle. Originally scheduled to open by late 2025, this key section has encountered construction delays and quality control issues, pushing its expected launch to early 2026. But surprisingly, Sound Transit has just made an announcement that could shape the future of transportation in Seattle. It's a move that might change how the region moves for years to come. We'll dive into the details in the next part, but before we do, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an update from our channel about the world of trains. In a recent update, Sound Transit CEO announced a major shift in the agency's rollout priorities. The long-awaited Federal Way Link extension on the 1-line may now open sooner than expected, ahead of the 2-line's delayed Cross Lake segment. The proposal? Arriving next, 1-line service to Federal Way. That announcement came alongside a conference vote to amend Sound Transit's 2025 service plan, officially clearing the way for extending 1-line service to downtown Federal Way, a milestone originally not expected until 2026. For details, the Federal Way Link extension is a 7.8-mile southbound expansion of the 1-line, running from SeaTac Airport to Federal Way Transit Center along the west side of Interstate 5. Once complete, it will connect key destinations including Highline College, Star Lake, and Federal Way itself, filling a critical gap in the region's north-south transit corridor. The project's origins date back to November 2008, when voters approved funding to extend Link Light Rail from SeaTac south to Redondo Star Lake at South 272nd Street. But like many infrastructure efforts of the era, the 2008 financial crisis quickly derailed plans. By December 2010, Sound Transit suspended work south of Angle Lake due to plunging tax revenues. It wasn't until April 2013 that construction resumed. Just over 3 years later, Angle Lake Station opened on September 24, 2016, rekindling momentum for future extensions. By 2015, a preferred route was selected, hugging the west side of I-5 with stations at Highline College, Star Lake, and Federal Way. Planning officially restarted in early 2016 once funding for preliminary engineering was restored. Later that year, voters approved Sound Transit 3, a ballot measure that fully funded the extension and targeted a 2024 opening. In 2017, final alignment details were confirmed, including coordination with Federal Way Public Schools to relocate an elementary school near the future Star Lake Station. But rising costs soon followed. By mid-2018, estimates had ballooned to $2.55 billion, fueled by escalating land acquisition prices and limited contractor availability. A major breakthrough came in late 2019 when the Federal Transit Administration awarded Sound Transit a $790 million grant and a $629 million low-interest loan, and a $629 million low-interest loan. With funding secured, construction officially began in early 2020, marked by a virtual groundbreaking due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Technically, the project includes one of the most complex bridge segments in the link system, a 500-foot balance span built between Kent, Des Moines, and Star Lake. Following its completion in late 2024, the span was buried in soil to reinforce structural integrity, becoming the longest single span in the link network to date. Construction crews also reused equipment from Portland's Tillicum Crossing to build parts of the elevated guideway, an example of resourceful planning amid rising costs. Originally planned for 2024, the extension hit multiple setbacks: a 4-month concrete truck driver strike, unexpected geotechnical issues, and pandemic-related labor and supply chain delays. By late 2022, the timeline had slipped to 2026. But, in a notable turnaround, several project elements wrapped up ahead of schedule in late 2024. That progress has now made it possible to target a late 2025 opening, potentially giving riders access to new stations months earlier than previously anticipated. So, what will the service actually look like? More importantly, how will it reshape transportation across the region? This isn't just a single project rollout, it could set the tone for an entire wave of future developments. If it delivers on its promise, it may become the blueprint for continuity across several major infrastructure initiatives. What's your take on this project? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Put 1 if you believe it's a much-needed investment, or a 0 if you think it's a waste of money. We're looking forward to hearing what you think. Before we could consider opening the Federal Way Link extension ahead of schedule, there was one critical challenge to solve: limited storage and maintenance space at Sound Transit's South Seattle operations and maintenance facility. With more trains running farther south, the system needed added capacity to support reliable daily service. Thanks to system-wide operational adjustments, that hurdle has now been cleared. Despite not yet having access to the agency's second operations and maintenance facility in Bellevue, Sound Transit is now confident it can sustain consistent service levels system-wide. When Federal Way service launches, the one line will continue to run 4-car trains every 8 minutes during peak hours, maintaining the current frequency from Linwood all the way to Federal Way. This ensures commuters along the extended corridor won't experience reduced service, even with the expanded reach of the line. Opening the Federal Way Link extension ahead of schedule would do more than serve local commuters. It sets the stage for launching the full 2-line across Lake Washington by spring 2026, aligning with preparations for the FIFA Men's World Cup, which will bring global attention and added transportation demand to the Puget Sound region. The Federal Way extension is entering its final stretch before opening to the public. With system integration testing nearing completion, the project is transitioning into pre-revenue operations. This stage includes intensive training for operators and maintenance crews, ongoing testing of stations, tracks, utilities, and onboard systems, as well as full-scale live simulations. These simulations are designed to validate that every component functions seamlessly under real-world conditions. It's the last major checkpoint before doors open to riders. At the same time, construction progresses steadily on the 2 lines Cross Lake connection, the key segment that will finally unite the east side with Seattle across the I-90 floating bridge. This long-awaited link remains on schedule for an early 2026 debut. In the coming months, test trains will begin appearing on the bridge itself as crews move into live wire testing. This is a pivotal part of system integration, where power and signaling systems are validated through actual train movements, bringing the corridor one step closer to full operational readiness. The early opening of the Federal Way Link extension is being celebrated as a major milestone in expanding fast, reliable transit across the region. I'm excited to see light rail arriving early to Kent, Des Moines, Star Lake, and downtown Federal Way, said Sound Transit Board Vice Chair and King County Council member Claudia Balducci, who emphasized this as another example of delivering service faster, similar to the early debut of the East Side Starter Line. Ryan Mello, Pierce County Executive and fellow Board Vice Chair, echoed that sentiment, noting how this extension brings light rail closer to people traveling to and from Pierce County, connecting communities to jobs, housing, and recreation. The announcement comes as daytime testing ramps up, with trains now regularly spotted near Federal Way Station, including triple-track activity and mixed Series 1 and Series 2 vehicles. With live wire testing on the I-90 floating bridge next, and the Cross Lake connection on track for early 2026, the next year is shaping up to be a transformative one for Sound Transit's regional network.